we're back.
Hello again. It's episode 131 of The Horror Guys.
Running a little late this week.
We're going to watch some horror movies and talk about them.
We are, yeah. How many? We got like 35 movies today?
Just 4.
4 movies and a short.
Yep,
Same as
and
always.
a short. Yeah.
All right. Were they good movies?
They were okay.
Yeah, all right.
They are. Yeah.
All right. Well, this week...
Some were better than others.
Yeah.
But that's typical.
That's the way it works, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Asylum, an anthology from 1972.
Near Dark from 1987.
City of the Dead from 1960.
And a brand new indie anthology, Triaphilia.
Try to what?
Triaphilia.
Try a...
Triaphilia. You'll like it.
You get
Yeah.
slapped.
From 2021.
Yeah, brand new one. All right. All right. Well, before we get going, we got to plug our books as always.
You should check out our books.
horrorguys.com/books. We'll bring up the whole list. We've got 4 of the Horror Guys guides. Got the Guide to Universal Studios Shock Theater, the Guide to Universal Studios Son of Shock, and it kind of sounds like that's a main book and a sequel, but they're kind of equal books. It's a
Parallel. They're
parallel books, yeah.
Yep.
It's 2 separate series put out by Universal, but they go together. Standalone by itself, of course, is the Horror Guy's Guide to Hammer horror films, and I keep wanting to say the Hammer Guide. We are not Hammer.
Hammer time.
The Horror Guy's Guide to the Silent Age of Horror. And unrelated to, but written by the Horror Guys, we have a sextet of strange stagings, 6 surprising scripts.
Easy to say that really
And
fast.
maybe a little bit too much alliteration in that title there.
But there's a little bit of horror in those, too.
There is.
Yeah.
And, of course, Tales to Make You Shiver, Volume 1, and Tales to Make You Shiver, Volume 2. So, ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
I think we should start with Asylum from 1972. That's crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, in the 70s seemed to be the time for low-budget British anthologies.
Mm-hmm.
Got The House That Dripped Blood, Trilogy of Terror.
It was a big thing.
A bunch of them back then.
And they weren't necessarily low budget.
Okay, yeah, I guess not.
Big names and good special effects. Yeah.
I don't know, would you say this one had big names in it?
Mm,
Looking back, they were big
Looking
names.
back.
Whether they were at the time, I don't know.
At least middle-of-the-road names.
Middle of the road names. All right, 1972, directed by Roy Ward Baker, written by Robert Bloch, stars Peter Cushing, Britt Eklund, and Herbert Lom, and a bunch of other somewhat familiar faces.
Yeah, there were a lot of faces that I recognized from other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Charlotte Rampling was one of them. She's
was,
done
yes.
tons of stuff. She was great. She did Angel Heart, another of my favorite horror movies. And yeah.
And Barry Morse, he was the scientist doctor in Space 1999.
Patrick McGee, he's done a ton of stuff.
Bargain Basement Boris Karloff, Patrick McGee, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of familiar people in this. Hour and 28 minutes. And what'd you think overall?
Overall, I liked it.
Had you seen it before?
I believe that I saw this when it came out.
There's another one you saw as a 4-year-old.
Well, 7. Yeah. So I had vaguely remembered it, and I think I saw part of it again in my early adulthood, not the whole thing.
Okay.
So this was my second time seeing it all the way through.
I'm sure I would have seen this sometime in the 80s. Definitely not when it first came out, but it probably wasn't old at the time. Haven't seen it in years, though. Enough that I'd forgotten any twists that were involved.
I kind of remembered the stories,
The big one?
but not the arc story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, for the wraparound story, got a new guy. Dr. Martin comes to the asylum as a new doctor and meets with Dr. Rutherford. He's not the doctor that Martin expected to be in charge. Dr. Starr is a patient here now, Rutherford explains. Rutherford challenges Martin to talk to the 4 prisoners upstairs, and if Martin can figure out which one is Dr. Starr, he'll be considered qualified for the job.
And he doesn't even know if Dr. Starr is a man or a woman.
Yeah, no clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
So Martin goes upstairs, and he is not amused by excessively long shots of the cartoon drawings on the wall of the staircase. What was up with that? It's like maybe 2, maybe 3 actual solid minutes of him looking at these black and white hand-drawn cartoons going up the steps.
Trying to analyze them, I guess.
They were creepy pictures, but come on, it's a movie, not an art show. All right, well, the first story was called Frozen Fear, and the first patient is Bonnie. In a flashback, we see her talking to Walter about their plan. Everything is set to go. His wife, Ruth, is learning about voodoo from an expert, and Walter doesn't appreciate it. Ruth asks Bonnie, and Walter says, "Oh, that's all over with." "I will never give you a divorce," she taunts. This is back in the days, I guess it was what do they call it, 2-party consent or something for divorces?
And she wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
You're mine.
Who thought that was a good idea?
I don't know.
I want a divorce. Well, no.
I hate you, and I'll never divorce you.
I'll stick around just to make your life a living hell.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Well, as a gift, he buys her a new freezer. Within a few seconds, she's inside the freezer and dead. Later, he cuts her into nice, neat chunks, all wrapped in butcher's paper, and puts her back in the freezer. "Rest in pieces," he says. Wow. Is this a Schwarzenegger movie or what?
That was
Rest in pieces.
An awesome line.
Later, Bonnie calls and says she'll be over soon. Before long, Walter finds Ruth's wrapped head on the floor. Or did he imagine it? He hears someone in the basement, and Walter follows. A hand reaches up and pulls him into the freezer. Bonnie arrives and goes down there too. Of course, she looks in the freezer. Then the various pieces of Ruth start to chase her, and Bonnie goes mad.
And chops her face up in the process. That's the twist at the end of the.
Oh yeah, she turns around and she's scary looking.
Yeah, because her face is all scarred up because she was chopping at one of the hands that had grabbed her.
Yeah, and
or was she just crazy because nobody found the body parts or believed her or anything.
And of course, Ruth's head covered in the craft wrapping butcher's paper is the cover of the movie poster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's believed that she killed both of them.
Yes. Whether she did, or if it was the body parts of Ruth, we don't know.
Nope.
Second story is the weird tailor. The next patient is Bruno, a tailor. We flash back to see him in his shop when Mr. Stebbins comes in for the rent. Stebbin gives him until Saturday to pay the rent or start packing. Bruno tells his wife Anna all their problems. Just then, Mr. Smith comes in, asking for the proprietor. Smith wants Bruno to make his son a suit, and he's brought his own material.
Smith is Peter Cushing.
Yes. It's a strange, glowing fabric for Smith's son. Smith gives him very specific instructions and wants to pay him £200, which is way more than a job like this is worth.
But it'll save the shop. That's just what the tailor needs, because they're struggling financially.
There's even specific times that Bruno can work on the suit, like only after dark and sometimes after 3 a.m., and very specific rules.
Which he follows.
"I happen to believe in astrology," explained Smith. It's too much money, and Anna thinks it's going to bring them trouble. Really? There's always one.
Yeah.
There's always one.
There's always one.
At one point, he sticks himself with a needle, and the blood just vanishes on the cloth.
Soaks right in.
Still, Bruno follows his instructions to the letter, and soon the suit is finished. He goes to Smith's home to deliver the suit, but Smith has no money right now. He spent his fortune on his studies. He gave it all up for his son, who is lying in the next room, dead and mummified. The suit is for him. He points a gun at Bruno and demands the suit. The men struggle, and Smith gets shot.
So, he ends up with a magic suit.
Bruno gives the suit to Anna and tells her to burn it. He does, however, have Smith's valuable book. The book explains that the suit will bring back the dead. He goes upstairs to find that Anna has put the suit on their mannequin.
Oops.
Bruno and Anna fight, and the mannequin comes to life and attacks him.
He's crazy,
Or is he?
Yeah.
Or is the story true?
That's all of these leave that question.
Are they insane
Are they
murderers,
crazy?
or was this real?
Yeah. Just in their head or not?
The third story is Lucy Comes to Stay. Barbara is patient number 3. George and Barbara are on their way home. Barbara thinks she saw Lucy peeking out the window. George says she's not to speak of Lucy anymore. She doesn't want to go back to the hospital, does she? He's even hired a nurse to look after her. Nurse Higgins' mother has an accident and she has to leave. Barbara gets up and goes straight for her hidden stash of drugs. Kinda gotta wonder what she was in the hospital for.
Mm-hmm.
Was she crazy or was it drug rehab?
Yes.
Don't know.
We don't know.
She then finds Lucy standing behind her. Lucy convinces Barbara that George is trying to get her committed, and then he will get everything. When Barbara returns, Lucy drugs his tea. Once George passes out, Lucy steals his car keys and wakes Barbara up to leave. Lucy yells at Barbara when she catches her taking the drugs, and Lucy throws the pills at her and then vanishes. Barbara finds George stabbed to death with scissors, and Mrs. Higgins can't call the police because the wires have been cut. Before long, she winds up dead too, and Lucy says Barbara is free. But the police say there is no Lucy, and never has been.
Crazy. Or is she?
And the fourth story is really kind of a little bit of a cheat. It's very short. The final patient is Dr. Byron. He makes ugly little dolls. He explains that each one has a functioning brain. He's been trying to bring one of them to life that looks like him.
Little functioning organs and, yeah.
Through the power of concentration, I will transfer my mind into this doll, he claims. And then Martin says, "You're crazy."
Yeah,
That's
just crazy.
All right, so back downstairs. "So, which one is it?" asked Rutherford. Rutherford wants to do a lobotomy on Byron, but Martin thinks that's reprehensible. Meanwhile, Byron stares deeply into one of his dolls upstairs. The little doll then walks away and sneaks into the elevator. Rutherford orders tea, and the nurse brings it on a cart, with little Byron's toy hiding underneath.
Except it's little Byron.
Yeah, he's taking over the doll.
Uh-huh.
Byron stabs Rutherford with a scalpel from behind, and Martin stomps on the doll and squishes his little guts out all over the floor.
Which is messier than you'd expect.
Well, they're living dolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's full of meat.
Then we find out who Dr. Starr really is. Not gonna spoil it. Well, the weird Taylor story is kind of fun and original, and the other two longer stories are kind of generic and predictable. The fourth patient had barely 3 minutes of screen time. The music really kind of stands out as this one because it's so bad.
Well,
It's almost entirely borrowed from other films and classical tunes. The opening credit music was just Night on Bald Mountain or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing high budget about this film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so anyway, it's good stuff, but it's clearly not original. The whole mystery about who Dr. Starr is actually a little bit of a cheat, but I have to say I didn't see that coming. Actually, I figured that Dr. Rutherford was going to turn out to be Dr. Starr all along.
Surprise.
Or some kind of mental patient, and he wasn't.
It was more of a surprise that way.
Yeah. Overall, it's a decent but very generic anthology. So yeah, if you like these 1970s anthologies, this is a good one. Maybe not the best, maybe not the worst, but it's good.
It's good. It's middling. It's above average.
All right, I won't say the same thing for our next film.
Which is?
City of the Dead from 1960.
Yeah.
Starring Christopher Lee, if you look at anything online. And I think Christopher Lee gets maybe 10 minutes of screen time?
Yeah, that. Yeah. It's an early role for him.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay.
It wasn't Christopher Lee yet.
Well, he had done Frankenstein. He had done Dracula by this point.
Oh, he had, yeah.
This came after his early Hammer films. He did this one.
Okay, yeah.
So 1960, City of the Dead, directed by John Llewellyn Moxey. How'd you like a name like John Llewellyn Moxey?
Moxey.
He's got the Moxey.
He's got Moxey.
And he's named Llewellyn. Well, written by George Baxton and Milton Subotsky, stars Patricia Jessel, Dennis Lotus, and third build is Christopher Lee. Unless you look at any of the pictures, any of the posters, and of course, Christopher Lee is top billing then.
Well, now, yeah.
Hour and 16 minutes, and there's a link in the show note if you want to watch this one. I think it's available on Amazon Prime. What'd you think?
It was okay. I thought it was okay. I thought it was more okay than you thought it was okay.
Oh, I think it was okay.
Thought it was kind of interesting.
All right.
I'll give it that. Didn't love it.
This seemed like two separate films.
It did. Yeah, the first part and the second part.
It's like they filmed the first part and they said, like, this is only 35 minutes.
Yeah, that's not enough. Yeah. Because the first part really is kind of a self-contained story by itself.
Yes, and so is the second one, really.
And, yeah.
There's very little overlap. Mm-hmm. All right, so way back in 1692, an angry mob of pilgrims demand that they bring out Elizabeth Selwyn. She's a witch, and they demand to burn her. Jethro Keene says he doesn't know her, so they burn her to death as a witch. Jethro then calls on Lucifer to help her, and the sky gets dark, and she laughs.
And the town is cursed.
Well, we fast forward to today, or 1960 more likely, where Alan Driscoll tells the story about the Salem witch trials and burnings. Student Nan Barlow plans to go to New England to research the subject more thoroughly for her term paper. Driscoll tells her exactly where to go, to stay with Mrs. Newless at her inn. Her brother Richard argues with Driscoll over the reality of witchcraft. Nan's boyfriend Bill thinks it's all drivel too, and neither of them like Driscoll. Nan is dead set on going, and she leaves for the little town of Whitewood. She talks to an old man who warns her off from going to town. Yep.
The Harbinger who rides along. You know, he apparently hangs out at that.
He's the gas station attendant.
Yeah.
That's the way it always works. Don't go to that town.
Don't go there.
No.
They always do.
Yeah, they do. She stops to give a ride to Jethro Keene, looking as young as ever. He vanishes once they get to the inn, and then she meets Lottie, the mute servant, and Mrs. Newless, the proprietor. Newless looks exactly like Elizabeth Selwyn. Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Nan almost immediately discovers a secret passage in her room. Newless and Keene discuss the upcoming festivities, and now the others have arrived. They clearly have some satanic ritual in mind, and Nan is going to be the guest of honor. The town seems to have permafrog, trademark, and numerous silent people wandering the town. Anytime there's an outside shot of this town, it's like 5 feet of fog.
It's fog central.
Yeah, smoke machine worked overtime here. Nan introduces herself to Reverend Russell, who gives her a ridiculously vague and cryptic warning when he could have just explained everything and sent her home. Yeah. What was that about? Go home, they're witches, they're planning on killing you. Go home now while you still can. But instead he mumbles some nonsense and some more nonsense.
That would be too direct.
Blah, 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 blah. Just stay home and keep your door shut if you're going to talk like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Later that night, she hears people singing under her room through the trap door. Mrs. Newless says the basement was filled in decades ago. Lottie tries to warn Nan, but she then gets run off by Newless. Nan reads all about human sacrifices from back in 1692, not realizing that the others plan the same thing for her. Around midnight, she sees 13 black-hooded figures chanting in the cemetery. She goes down into the trapdoor into the darkness, and then acts surprised when the hooded figures grab her and tie her down to an altar. Driscoll is one of them, and Newless/Selwyn stabs Nan. Dun,
the end.
Dun, dun.
The end. Oh, wait, that was only half an hour.
Yeah, that wasn't 30, 40 minutes there, and it's not that long. All right, well, we cut back to civilization, where someone asks Richard whatever happened to Nan. Bill comes looking for her as well, and he hasn't heard from her in 2 weeks. The police say Nan checked out 2 weeks ago. Richard goes to see Driscoll, who is in the middle of a bird sacrifice. Driscoll says she's probably fine. She can take care of herself.
And what was the point of the bird sacrifice? That's a little snack size sacrifice to the devil?
Just to remind us, look, he's still evil.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever he got from the sacrifice of Nan, he got to keep it fed with that bird.
I guess.
don't know.
Yeah, little snacks.
Like, look, in case you didn't catch me, I was at the human sacrifice. I was there.
Mm-hmm. And I also sacrifice birds.
Yeah. Well, Patricia, the bookseller from Whitewood and granddaughter of the old priest, comes to town to talk to Richard about Nan. On her way back, Patricia sees Jethro on the road as well. To see me is a special privilege, he explains humbly.
He's a walking ego.
Yeah, he is. Richard finally sets off to Whitewood, but Bill follows in his own car. Bill, unfortunately, is run off the road by witches and staggers off into the woods. Richard talks to the old priest, who explains that the witches must sacrifice 2 young girls each year, and the second will be tonight.
Oh, they're not done yet.
They'll be coming for Patricia soon. Why didn't they get her first? She lives in that town. She phones Richard, but it's too late. Richard hears the singing and goes down into the trapdoor as well. He encounters the witches and shoots at them, but that doesn't slow down any of them. The witches grab him, but he yells to Bill, who isn't quite dead yet. Bill brings a cross from a grave closer to them, which starts shooting fire. Wow.
Laser cross.
Yeah, and that does burn the witches. Bill falls down dead, but Richard and Patricia get away. They run back to the inn to see that Mrs. Newless has died, and she looks pretty bad.
Yeah, age caught up with her all at once.
Yeah.
The curse was broken.
Just to point out, they didn't actually burn witches in Salem.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, they burned them in England.
It's a
They
movie.
hung
It's a
them
movie
and stuff in
movie trope.
Salem. Well, the first half of the film with Nan was pretty by the book and entertaining, I thought. It was good enough. But the second half with Richard, things really grind to a halt. In the first part, we see that witchcraft is real in the situation with Nan, and then we have to go through Richard trying to be convinced and going through the same thing as well, which is tedious. Witchcraft is real for the first 40 minutes, and then, hey, witchcraft is real for the second 40 minutes.
Again, yeah. Uh-huh.
Maybe it would have been nice if he'd have caught
again.
the guy doing his bird sacrifice and just went into this thinking magic is real.
That might have been, yeah.
That's not what happened, though, so, yeah. All right. As usual, we watch a short film. And most of the time we watch the newest, latest, greatest short films. This time we watched an older short film from way back in 1982.
Animated.
It's 39 years ago.
He's been around for a while.
That is, yeah.
And who was it that directed it?
This is the short film called Vincent, written and directed by Tim Burton, who's
His early work. Yeah.
Done a few things since then.
This is before he started making the big movies, and this is some of his early work.
He had made other shorts before this, and a couple of TV things, but no real movies at this point.
And you can see inspirations from, that led to his movies. You definitely see his style here in
a
this.
year or two
short.
after this, he made
Beetlejuice,
and some of the worms and things came straight from
and
this.
the children,
written and directed by Tim Burton.
Nightmare Before Christmas
that was a good bit later,
me,
but yeah,
but a lot of things from this reminded me of that too. Yeah, definitely his early stuff that influenced his later stuff. Yeah, very cool.
And this is all claymation, stop motion. Stars Vincent Price as the narrator, though. It's 6 minutes, and we've got a link in the show notes. You can go watch this one right now on YouTube for free.
For free.
All right, so our little synopsis here. Vincent Malloy is obsessed with Vincent Price. I mean, who isn't?
That's right.
Everything he does is twisted in a creepy way, at least until his mother tells him to play outside. All the narration rhymes along the lines of some sort of evil Dr. Seuss. Vincent has a very active imagination and tends to get into trouble, but he's a good boy at heart. Isn't he?
He totally wouldn't really sacrifice anybody.
All right, well, Tim Burton was a major fan of Vincent Price and wrote the poem and later created the animation we see here. The Vincent character here actually resembles young Tim Burton. Price was one of Burton's idols growing up, and Burton has said many times that it was a lifelong dream to collaborate on this short film with the real Vincent.
And he got to.
What do you think it was like for Vincent Price to have such a rabid fan base that something like this would be made?
I think he was honored.
We're basing this on your life, and it is just really twisted.
I bet he was just tickled pink.
I bet. He probably,
Yeah.
I don't know if he'd do it for free, but... Although Burton had done 9 or 10 shorts before this, he hadn't done any feature films. It was another 6 years before he worked on Beetlejuice, which made him a recognized name in Hollywood. Still, you can see a lot of the same design elements used in many of Burton's later animated and non-animated films here.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, definitely one of the really cool horror shorts, especially if you're a Tim Burton or Vincent Price fan.
Becoming Tim Burton.
Yeah.
This was one of the steps.
Origin story.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of origin stories, you ever want to be a vampire?
Yeah, all the time.
Well, what would you do if you turned into a vampire? Would you, go home and feed the horses?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's what this guy does.
Well, he's a cowboy.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're talking about Near Dark, a fun vampire movie from 1987. Directed by Catherine Bigelow, written by her and also Eric Red, stars Adrian Pasdar, Jenny Wright, and Lance Henriksen. Hour 34 minutes. Link in the show notes.
Did you like it?
I did.
Yeah,
one of my favorite vampire movies.
I thought it's awesome. This was actually the third time I've seen it. I saw it when it came out. Saw it some years ago.
I think I know I saw it when it came out, and I don't think I've seen it since. So this is only like my second viewing.
Okay. Yeah.
But
awesome.
Yeah, it's
awesome
good.
Sauce.
But if I was going to be a vampire, I wouldn't hang out with these guys.
No.
No, these are the dumbest vampires.
Well, they get by.
But they're old. You'd think if you've lived for a couple hundred years, or Civil War like the one guy mentions, you'd at least be smart enough to wear a wristwatch.
I'm going to live forever.
Oh, listen,
is
there's
it dawn already?
There's a rooster crowing. Let's talk for another 20 minutes.
Dawn is coming. What? Already?
Yeah,
they were smart. So bad throughout and that was a recurring thing.
I've
so bad
track.
at keeping track of the night. Yeah.
All right.
And sunlight is definitely not something that mixes with these vampires.
No.
Big bad reaction. Yeah.
Well, Caleb and his group of friends see a pretty girl on the street. Her name is May, and she's real friendly to Caleb. They go for a drive, and she tells him to stop the truck. She goes on and on about listening to the night, but all he wants is her. He introduces her to his horse because he's a cowboy. The horse doesn't like May and runs off. She says she needs to be home by dawn, but Caleb's kind of slow. Will they make it home in time? No, because he stops the truck and demands a kiss.
You gotta give me a kiss first.
She gives it to him, but then the sun slowly rises. She bites him and runs off through the desert. The truck won't start, so Caleb starts walking. As the sun comes up, he starts to smoke. And I don't mean with a cigarette.
Nope.
As he burns, a Winnebago roars up and pulls him inside. Caleb's father and sister watch as they drive off. May and a bunch of other, people are in the Winnebago, and yeah, they're all vampires. May says that she's turned Caleb, which really annoys all the others.
Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen.
The leader, Jesse, says they'll give him a week to see if he fits in. Caleb runs off, tries to eat a candy bar, but it makes him sick. He then boards a bus to go back home, but he just gets sicker and sicker. He goes back to May, who makes him drink blood from her, and he feels terrific after that. Meanwhile, Loy and Sarah, Caleb's family, start asking around and looking for him. May explains that Caleb has to learn to kill. We see Homer, the child vampire, lure in a victim by pretending to be in a bicycle accident. Another vampire, Severin, picks up a ride with 2 young women. Jesse and Diamondback pick up a pair of bandits pretending to be hitchhikers.
It ends badly for all these people.
All these people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb can't bring himself to kill yet, so he continues to feed from May. Jesse insists that Caleb make a kill tonight or he's out. Well, the whole group goes to a bar and does mayhem.
Bloody, messy things.
Caleb gets shot in the belly and is given a young cowboy to kill, but he just can't do it and lets the kid go.
Yeah, and as far as gunshots and wounds and everything, nothing really lasts.
No.
It hurts.
It hurts and it's messy.
Yeah, but it just heals and goes away.
Yeah. Well, Jesse rents a motel room for the group, but the clerk recognizes him from way back. Hey, were you
Plus,
here
they're
in the
looking
60s?
for their vehicle. Their vehicle's been, ID'd. And, yeah.
Well, the police arrive in broad daylight. There's a shootout, and every bullet through the wall lets in just a little more sunlight. Caleb puts on a blanket and runs for the van, searing in the sunlight as he goes, which he brings back to rescue the others.
Yeah, drives it through the wall to pick them up.
He is lucky
but
it drives
works.
again afterwards. They've really been screwed.
Yeah, that vehicle took some abuse.
The van has its windows blacked out, so they get away. They're so grateful to Caleb that they decide he does fit in for now.
Yeah, you're one of us for now. You're okay.
One of us.
Yeah, so much that Bill Paxton even gives him one of his stirrups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that night, Homer brings in a girl he meets outside, and it turns out to be Caleb's sister, Sarah.
That's unfortunate.
His father, Loy, shoots Jesse, who spits up the bullet.
And hands it back to him. This belongs to you.
Caleb, Loy, and Sarah run out into the sunlight and jump into their truck, leaving the vampires behind.
Yeah, this was another one of those where, it's daylight. And they had no idea.
Yeah. Loy is a veterinarian, and he knows how to give a transfusion to Caleb. When morning comes, the sunlight doesn't hurt him anymore. Except the vampires know where he lives.
Uh-oh, and there's more movie to go.
The vampires come and take Sarah away, and Caleb has to pursue them on a horse, because he's a cowboy.
Because he's a cowboy.
Severin has a traffic accident. Caleb grabs Sarah and runs
that's
off.
an understatement. He has a
Well, you're
traffic
supposed
accident.
to watch the movie. Yes, he has a traffic accident.
Yes, a little mishap.
Caleb grabs Sarah and runs off. Caleb.
No,
Homer. Homer does.
Homer does.
The little kid
the
vampire.
Kid, yeah. Which it's interesting how his character deals with it. He's at least decades old. They don't really the leader is the only one where he alludes to how old he is. He says
Civil War.
He's fought for the South. We lost. So
the
others are not as old.
Yeah.
I think is
But yeah, Homer is probably 40 or 50 years old, stuck in a 10-year-old's body. He smokes
forever.
and drinks, and
yeah.
And then he grabs his little girl. Does that make him a pedophile?
Technically,
or does that just mean he wants somebody to?
Well, he
fit
wants
in
somebody
with?
his size who's going to be a companion for him.
Don't think about that one too much. Well, the others pursue him as the sun rises. Homer explodes in the sun. Jesse and Diamondback go out with a bang as well.
Yeah.
May, well, she gets an unexpected resolution. All right, so that's the end.
I liked it.
If you ever wanted to learn how to be a vampire, this is a good one with vampire origin stories. But I don't know if I'd want to team up with this group.
Pay more attention to what time it is.
Yeah, since they're all just plain crazy and needlessly wasteful.
Yeah, they are crazy.
They just kill and kill and kill for no particular reason. They kill a whole bar just so Caleb could bite one kid.
Because they can. Yeah, I think because they're bored.
Yeah,
I kind of got the impression that they live this crazy life because what else are they going to do?
You'd think a group that wanted to literally live forever would be a little more low profile and plan better. I lost track of how many times these guys got caught in the sunrise. Couldn't they bother stealing a watch? And why was Homer so infatuated with Sarah, whom he'd only seen once?
Love at first sight. She
You're
smells
going to
good.
run down the middle of the street in the desert with a dragon a kid that you just suddenly... Yeah. When you know you're going to die from it, when you could be running faster without her?
Well, yeah, there is that. Yeah,
it's very well paced, very well acted, and a lot of fun to watch. And this is one of the best modern takes on vampires, although the word vampire is never spoken.
And the makeup and effects were really good.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. All right, definitely thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think of the 4 this week, that's my favorite.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, of the 4. All right. Well, that takes us to our last movie of the week.
Speaking of 4, now it's time to speak of 3.
Triaphilia, an anthology from 2021. Written and directed by Joshua Nelson. Stars Chelsea Rose Barreto? I really doubt that's Burrito.
Barreto? Yeah, we don't know.
Vincent Caprio, Daniela Favaloro. Hour and 9 minutes. And there's a link in the show notes. All right. So, what'd you think?
I thought this was some pretty fine indie work.
Yeah, this is an indie film, so it's low budget and maybe a little on the amateur side. But
well, here and there, but yeah, overall it was really good.
Oh, it's far from the worst indie film we've seen. Oh, yeah, it's definitely well done.
Yeah. Far and above others that we've seen, yeah. But yeah, overall, liked it. Yeah, would recommend.
A man answers the phone, explaining that his shop sells all your heart's desires, and they'll be open and waiting for you when you arrive.
Just a touch of needful things going on there.
I think a lot of needful things going on there.
Okay, yeah. more than a touch, yeah.
He's somebody. Maybe the devil, maybe he's wizard, we don't know. All right, and again, this is an anthology. The first story is called The Demon. A couple comes in to buy a gift for her parents. He points them to a mirror. What you see is not who you are. When you are sick, don't look into a mirror or your soul will fly into the mirror and you might die. That's a great selling point.
But who doesn't love a mirror, so you should buy it.
The glass lies, the old man warns. Well, they buy the mirror and go stay the night at her parents' house. The meeting doesn't go very smoothly. Karen wants to tell her parents that she's pregnant just to mess with them, but she sees some kind of monster in the mirror. She starts to wonder who she really is on the inside. Then she eats her fiancé's face off.
What?
And her father's. And then her mother's.
Yeah.
And then the pizza guy shows up at a bad time. Come on already, stop eating.
Once you start with one, you just can't stop.
You can't eat just one. All right, the second story is The Woman Scorned. The shopkeeper talks to 3 women. One of them mentions, I'm only dating 4 guys right now. Slut. Well, they want to buy something creepy for Halloween, and he talks them into a vase full of the ashes of a serial killer.
What could be better than that?
That'd be, I wouldn't mind having that. That'd be cool. A strange woman knocks on the door and wants in. The strange woman is Martha, and she's just full of strange trivia. True love never dies, she explains. Everyone has their own essence. And she says she can smell her dead husband. Martha then pulls out a machete. She's the wife of the guy in the urn. Will any of them survive the experience?
Will they? We'll have to see.
The third story is Franklin. 2 women go into the store to buy a trunk for a woman who lost her son, Franklin. She kept all the dead boy's clothes and toys and wants something to put them in. Franklin's mother seems completely obsessed and focused on her son being dead. She's freaky, and the other 2 girls realize just how messed up she is in a very short time.
Oh, yeah.
The mother starts hearing Franklin's voice coming out of the chest. The voice says Franklin told him how the mother hurt him. What? Okay.
What? That's not what I expected.
The voice accuses the mother of hanging Franklin. It explains that the 2 girls know all about it, and she needs to kill them both. Also, the scary doll from inside the chest starts roaming the apartment.
Creepy dolls that walk on their own is never a good thing.
Yeah. Well, the name of the film is Triaphilia.
Which
shouldn't it be Triaphobia?
Yeah, the fear of 3s, but it's philia is love.
Yeah, the package says that's the fear of 3s. No, fear is a phobia.
I think
philia
that might be
is a love.
My biggest criticism of the movie.
It's misnamed for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, this is the love of 3s, not the fear of 3s, despite what the packaging says.
But anyway, if you like some indie work, go see this one.
Yeah. It's a creative anthology, and the acting is good. Mm-hmm. The best of the bunch is the shopkeeper.
He's called the Wicked One in the credits.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's creepy and hilarious at the same time. The third episode was a hair too long.
Yeah,
the other two were just perfect in length.
Kenny Leedy, he was excellent in that role.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I noticed his other credits. In one film, he played God, and another he played a genie. Could you picture the guy playing a genie?
I could.
I mean, he doesn't even need makeup. He just looks like a genie.
He could do that so easily. Yeah.
Okay. So, the length of the credits seemed excessive, but that's not an unusual thing with an indie film. Overall, it's a good, strong thumbs up, and all these folks should make more stuff.
Yes, they should.
All right, and that is our show for the week. Guess what?
What?
Next week, we're going to have more shows.
More movies?
Yeah.
What are we going to see? Oh, yeah. Jacob's Wife?
What's Jacob's Wife?
Jacob's Wife.
It's a secret. Can't say much without spoilers.
And Censor. And both of those are from 2021.
New films.
Censor is a New Zealand film.
Was it?
Yeah. And
I sort of got the impression it took place in England or something.
No, I believe that it was New Zealand.
Huh, all right.
And the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Which one?
Both of them.
Both of them?
1956 and the 1978 remake.
They're coming for you. No, that's not.
They're coming for you, Barbara. No,
yeah,
that's not
wrong
right.
Movie. I can't make that
asleep.
sound.
Don't fall asleep.
That's not what he says. At the end.
Yeah, that noise he makes.
Yeah, that's an alien noise. Yeah, I can't do it. All right, so both versions of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Jacob's Wife, and Censor. And I'll bet we've got a short for you.
I bet we do.
Keep your pants on, but take your skin off for that short. Mm-hmm. It's a teaser for you. I'm Brian.
I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.